So how do we access the greatest power that's available through our sex drive? We have this energy source, we have this ongoing drive to connect. We have that drive because of the chemicals in our brain. I mean, it's life calling to life that wants us to have this experience. We have that drive for the bonding chemicals, right? There's this thing that happens in us. How do we take that and use it for the greatest good? Because what happened, I don't know about you, but early in my life, anytime I would feel this pressure, this buildup, I had to get rid of it. I had to release it. I couldn't be with it. And what that creates is it depletes us and it leaves us exhausted. And it leaves us in this place of being hungrier and hungrier and becoming less and less satisfied. What I want to teach you about is this idea. Napoleon Hill is one of the first that ever taught about it, that I ever read. I'm sure somebody else taught about it too, probably in the Kama Sutra or something, but I never read that book. So he taught about this concept called the transmutation of sexual energy. And I was like, what in the world is that? Like, that doesn't even make any, what is that, like sex with aliens or something? I was like, I read that book, Think and Grow Rich, and it was such a fantastic book, but I just couldn't figure out what that meant. And so the idea is, rather than expelling that energy when it builds up, the idea is to hold it in and let it build and actually sit with being horny. I know there's some people that are watching this and they're just like, that's suffering, I can't imagine that. The problem is that if we use these scarce resources, these chemicals that happen during sex, and we overuse these, it depletes our system and it makes us hungrier. And then we act out more and it makes us hungrier. And we act out, and it's this vicious cycle that we get stuck in. If we want to be able to have the greatest power, we have to actually learn to sit with it. It's sort of like being hungry and choosing not to eat food. And so what we do in order to sit with this, I'll give you an example. When I'm writing a program, it takes a tremendous amount of focus, right? Shooting videos like this takes a tremendous amount of focus. So what I consciously do during times when I really need extra energy and extra focus, and I know there's going to be a lot of pressure on me, I choose to abstain from any sexual activities. And I do this so that I can allow that energy and that intensity to build in me and get stronger and stronger and stronger and actually sit with being horny. And then take that energy, that intensity, that drive, that hunger, and channel it into the creativity. Channel it into the thing that I want to do. Does that make sense? When we can actually learn to contain this energy, and I'm not saying contain it forever. I'm not saying contain it and never experience this. I think sex is one of the most amazing experiences that we can have when we use it in alignment with these natural laws. I know for me, it's one of the most fulfilling things that I've ever been able to experience when I've used it in alignment with those laws, but when I haven't, it's just left me depleted. It's left me feeling shameful. It's left me feeling empty. So learning to sit with it is the first aspect of having this power. And then consciously choosing to channel that sex in a way that's best aligned with natural law. And part of this has to do with the bonding chemicals. Part of this has to do with the stuff that goes on in our brain. Part of it has to do with what I think. I look at it like this and I go, what have the natural laws of sex been forever? I think that the natural laws of sex forever have been, sex usually makes babies, right? Except for the last 50 years. Sex usually makes babies, and it ends up in this place of, do we want to raise this human being? Do we want to have a lifetime commitment to this person that we just created? I mean, you think about you, right? You exist. You were created through a sexual union, through a picnic, as I like to say. And we all have this desire for those that created us to support us and help us. We don't always get that. And it's incredibly challenging. So I think that there's a certain level of commitment of saying, if I'm going to engage in this activity and a baby happens as a result, I'm willing to make a lifetime commitment to that human being that I have created. It's my own creation. I'm going to commit to it. I think that's the first of the natural laws of sex. And then the other aspect of this is, do I intentionally want to bond with this other human being? Because if we don't, what it causes is we're actually hurting someone else. We're basically, we're using them in this way. And look, I have an instinct to mate with lots and lots of people, right? My internal drive says, this would be great, this will be fantastic, this will bring lots of happiness. But as I've learned these natural laws and learned to contain this energy and channel it in a way where I was in alignment with those natural laws, I experienced greater fulfillment. Then the other aspect of this that I really want to talk about is, it's like this guy at my seminar recently, we were talking about this whole thing, and he goes, dogs can have sex, but it takes skill to have intimacy. It takes a commitment to have intimacy. So what does intimacy mean? What do I talk about when I say intimacy? You can have great sex with someone and maybe not have intimacy. You can have great orgasms and maybe not have intimacy. But there's something that happens when we have someone and we're in alignment with the natural laws. We're willing to raise a child if a child happens. We're truly intending to bond with this person. We treat them as a human being and not just a piece of meat, not something just to fix us. And in that space, we can start to let our own personal walls down. We can start to lower our insecurities and let ourselves be seen on this deeper, more incredible level. And as we do that, the connection that's available becomes one of the nurturing, one of the most healing experiences we can have as a human being. And my invitation, it's ultimately what we want from sex, that lasting, really deeply rich, fulfilling thing. And the only way I've been able to experience it is to align myself with these natural laws and channel that sexual energy this way. And the last little bit is becoming skilled sexually. We have all of these things in our marketplace that they have all these, just extreme versions of sex. And yet, how often do we have an open, honest, clear dialogue about sexual technique and understanding the energy that's involved in this? And so I've gotten together with one of the greatest sex teachers that I've ever read about. Her name is Dr. Felice Dunas. She wrote a book called Passion Play. She happened to be one of my marriage coaches when my wife and I were going to get divorced. And she called me out on stuff that wasn't working in my life. And she's like, look, dude, you got no skills, man. Not just in the area of sex, but in the area of relationships in general. She started teaching me the skills of relationships. And some of that was understanding the art of seduction and attraction and polarity and all those different things. And learning how to be in a space of aligning with those things and actually being skilled in it. This is not something that just happens. And so after months of persuading her, I said, Dr. Dunas, you have to share this information with people. And so we created an audio program that goes through, it's a couple different factors. One is outside the bedroom, seduction outside the bedroom. She teaches men, she's a medical doctor, so she teaches men from a medical doctor standpoint how to create attraction and arousal outside the bedroom. And there's a ton of in the bedroom technique. And there's also a program where she teaches women about how to create greater health and greater vitality and greater energy with themselves through sex and understanding bedroom technique to help make their man happier and help please their man. So if that's something that would be useful to you, I know these skills have been incredibly valuable for me to be able to really channel the sex drive in a way that brings me power and helps me to experience that fulfillment and that intimacy and that connection that I want. And so I invite you to invest in yourself in this area and educate yourself in this area so that you can learn to channel this and have the greatest power that's available to you. If this is something in your life that you might need some help aligning, if you're experiencing the symptoms of exhaustion and being out of control, being driven by your sex drive, I've created a little cheat guide here for you that teaches you how to align your life with the natural laws of sex so that you can experience greater financial abundance and more connected relationships and the freedom to live your purpose. All you got to do is click on the button on this page and it will take you to another page where you can get access to this guide and help you start to live in alignment with the 7 irrefutable laws of power.